It's an everyday practice, wisdom, because um, even while we have no control over very much other than our own thoughts and actions, we have a lot of influence. And we see that in those who are closest to us, especially if you've raised kids and they start to model their practices after you. We see the impact of that influence. And so um, I think the concept of if it's to be, it's up to me does not mean it's up to me alone. It's not up to me exclusively to make everything happen. It's up to me to decide if that's what I want to continue to move towards, and then to engage and enroll the people around me, especially in business, with a team of people.
Today's guest is Trevor Stevenson. Trevor Stevenson is a leadership coach, men's mental health advocate, global adventure guide, and co-founder of Conscious Lead. But long before coaching executives or leading ocean crossings, his leadership began on the farm, where responsibility wasn't motivational language, it was daily practice. For over 21 years, Trevor has helped leaders and men reduce harm, strengthen connection, and grow through awareness and action. His core belief, "Dear, but for me, go I," and equally powerful, "If it is to be, it is up to me." It teaches that the habits that got us here may also be the ones holding us back, and that real change begins with internal work before external action. Today, we're unpacking ownership, autopilot patterns, and what conscious leadership really looks like. Welcome to Relatable Wisdom, Trevor.
Thank you, wisdom. A pleasure to be here.
Yeah, you're welcome. The quote, "Dear, but for me, go I." What is the context behind the quote, and what does it mean?
So it's really my wife laughs at me every time I say that quote because it's kind of it's a little abstract, right? But really, it's like there being that goal or that place that I want to head to. I can go, except for anything within me that holds me back. It's only me that's getting in my way of my biggest dreams and desires and outcomes and success. And so, if I can envision it and recognize what needs to be dealt with internally, the fear, the doubt, the worry, then overcome.
When you think of this quote, would you be so kind to share some instances where you've used this quote to achieve some of the goals you've achieved?
Yes, absolutely. They can be small things, wisdom, like just getting stuff done around the property and being frustrated at not knowing how to do something in there. And also uh, recognizing that there that I have envisioned isn't necessarily absolutely critical. And so that outcome can shift, but again, going inward, recognizing what's stopping me from moving forward, keeping me stuck is critical. And then all the way into as well business success, and whether it's a downturn in the economy or a prospect saying no thanks, um, it's that perseverance to have our eye on the.
Wow. You also live by the idea that if it is to be, it is up to me. How do you balance personal responsibility without sliding into self-blame?
It's an everyday practice, wisdom, because um, even while we have no control over very much other than our own thoughts and actions, we have a lot of influence. And we see that in those who are closest to us, especially if you've raised kids and they start to model their practices after you. We see the impact of that influence. And so um, I think the concept of if it's to be, it's up to me does not mean it's up to me alone. It's not up to me exclusively to make everything happen. It's up to me to decide if that's what I want to continue to move towards, and then to engage and enroll the people around me, especially in business, with a team of people. It's not me doing everything. It's me leading and influencing in a way that has everyone come into alignment on what we're moving towards and wanting that same thing or versions of it and staying open to what that can look like. So that's the up to me part. It doesn't mean drive forward and all success on your own. It means stay open, stay fluid, stay engaged, and enroll those around you.
Yeah. The whole idea is I am the only thing standing in my way. What was a moment in your life where you realized that truth in a confronting way?
There was a time, wisdom, I had traveled the world and a lot of that on my own. Spent 3 years through Africa, mostly traveling on my own, guiding there through different countries. Then um, reconnected with my now wife, and we were young entrepreneurs and nothing standing in our way. Life was easy. And then came first child. It's the same time we bought our first home, the big property that we had to manage. And then came and we had full-time staff and a bunch of coaches who were relying on us for work. And then came a downturn in the economy in about 2010 and our second child being born. And things got real stressful real fast. And it got pretty intense. And I reverted to my conditioned way of my farm upbringing where I just head down. And I went into that if it's to be, it's up to me. And I just went harder and worked and worked and worked and did not have the awareness to recognize that I was pushing people away. My staff were afraid of me. My wife was distancing. The kids didn't want to be, I mean, one was a newborn and one was 2 years old, but I could see the energy and the distance that was being created. And so I really had to confront myself, and my wife was good at holding that up for me, confront those limitations of my current way, of my conditioned way that was showing up in this time. I really had to take on some coaching, and there was a fantastic human who I started coaching with who really helped me go inside to recognize the conditioning, recognizing that I was actually operating from a place of fear and scarcity, and I was rippling that out around me, and it was not creating what I wanted. And so if I wanted the outer world to change, I had to change the inner world. And so I got to some great coaching, and really the journey continues every day.
Wow. Wow. I love that story. Thanks for sharing that story to just help expatiate on your idea. When someone feels stuck or frustrated, how can they tell whether autopilot is running the show?
Well, there's a good chance that it is, because if they're stuck, if your days are on repeat and you wake up already with a dread for the day, and then there's more things that frustrate you as you get into your day, and then your days are tense and hurried, and at the end of the day or throughout the day you just feel exhausted if you're running on caffeine, and if you're not building connections that rejuvenate and re-inspire you, if you're not taking time for yourself, for wellness, for mental and physical health, then there's a good chance you're just running in the hamster wheel and that you're on autopilot. If you're not consciously choosing how you respond, but you're just reacting, you might think, oh no, I've got all the answers and I just throw them out there. Part of that is creating an environment where people rely and depend on that. So you're not actually empowering autonomy in those people around you. Again, whether it's your kids or your staff. And so a good chance or a good recognition is as well people distancing themselves through you not having time for them, or you not having patience for them, or you not having love for them. And so that could be separation and divorce. It could be kids not listening or wanting to be around you. It could be staff exiting your operation. It could be staff not um, offering contrasting views and just being yes man or woman and just following along. And so it might show up in your bottom line results as well in your business, that you're just struggling to advance, and you just over and over and over the same program, Groundhog Day, just to get the same results and the results that you don't actually want. So that's the time to pause, go inward, because as men, especially, we love to fix things. We love to have solutions and problem solve. And for most part, we're doing that from a cerebral context. We're trying to think our way through the problem and fix things. And this is a hard thing. This is to go inside and understand what we need to do to take care of ourselves. And once we change our mind, everything.
Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join. Or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation.
One of the things you teach is, you know, you teach, you work deeply with men's mental health. What's the one emotional skill most men we are never taught but desperately need?
I think it's just emotional awareness. Basically, it's that we were never taught, encouraged to understand or recognize or acknowledge our emotions. In fact, it was the opposite. When we did express our emotions, oftentimes we were shut down or we were ridiculed for showing fear or sadness or pain. And so from young, we started building these walls, putting on these masks, putting layers, keeping distance from that, and has created this situation where we don't even acknowledge, recognize, understand our emotions at all. And so anger was always acceptable. We probably grew up, a lot of us, with anger around us and violence. And so those became the acceptable norm, and some form of joy or happiness, those are okay. But all the rest, so we're left with two emotions in a very, very broad spectrum of possible emotions that if we can recognize the emotion when it's alive in us and connect to that, we can have a deeper understanding of what the needs are that we have moment to moment and stop going after just things that we want or strategies that we reach for a strategy. Again, as problem solvers, we'll reach for a strategy without even knowing the deeper need that we're trying to meet. And so that's when we can have some pretty maladaptive habits and patterns.
Yeah, at the beginning of the episode, we started with the quote, if it is to be, it's up to me. And the reason I brought up the emotional skills is most of the time we have this goal set for ourselves and we know deep down that this is what I want to do. So it's not like it was projected on us. And when it comes to actually doing the thing, we quote unquote don't feel like doing it. And I'm not talking about we're tired or stressed. I mean, we don't feel that motivation to do it. And that's why, now you're talking about emotional awareness. What role does emotional awareness play in we showing up daily in doing the work that needs to be done and versus not doing it at all?
Question. It was interesting. I was coaching a gentleman yesterday who was in a bit of a career transition. He's thinking from that place of should. Again, he's thinking of like, oh, I should do this. There's going to be work in it. There's going to be money. And so what I had him see is that he's actually operating from a place of fear versus passion. And that's one of the risks, I think, in society in general for us. And our whole education system has been shaped based on that, so that you can go get a job and create a living, but not necessarily anything through our educational journey to help us understand what we're interested in, what we're passionate about, where our talents lie. A little bit about our talents, obviously, but it's not necessarily encouraged from young to explore those talents and nurture those. And so we end up in this place of doing because we've been told we should. I've coached thousands of people who've gone through that system, and doing the work that they currently do because it provides the life from a monetary perspective and a comfort level that they enjoy, but it's uncomfortable because they don't actually enjoy what they do every day. And so they're just kind of counting the days until they can retire. And it's such a sad thing. Life is too short for that. And so through some coaching with this gentleman yesterday, it just evolved into what his actual interests were. And it's stuff that he was working on for himself and would love to be sharing, but of course had this fear and self-doubt of like, no, I'm not an expert at this. I'm not certified in this. So how could I do it? And so he's going externally and saying, well, what can I easily get certified in that I can go out and do the work? And negating his actual internal drive and interests. And so I think that's a bit of a travesty that we can work to overcome.
Oh. If someone wants to shift one pattern this week, what's the first internal question they should ask themselves?
How do I feel right now? I wasn't trying to answer that question. So every day we get triggered by something of like, oh gosh, I overslept, or you bang your toe on the door, or your wife does that thing and you just feel that thing rise up in your side, or your kids don't do that thing and you just feel it. And then you hit traffic, and or then that person didn't deliver that thing on time. And like there's just hundreds of triggers every day, emotional triggers within us. So at any one of those or at a dozen of those, just pause, just like, oh, there's a thing. I was on, the wisdom, this guy talking with wisdom about pausing when I feel something, and just try to name the emotion. Just get in the practice of that, because if you can slow down to do that, you're already in a place of overcoming the trigger, because now you're in a place of curiosity. You've moved from your amygdala hijack, the fight or flight response, to the prefrontal cortex where there's rationing, understanding, exploring. And you can start to be curious then, well, what was the thing that triggered me? What was the moment? And attached to that moment, what thought did I have? Because it's not the thing. It's not the alarm clock not going off, or your wife doing that thing, or the staff not delivering that thing. It's my thoughts about that, which is usually a fear response. It's like, I won't have time. I won't get it done. I won't be appreciated. I won't be accepted. I won't be loved. There isn't enough money, whatever. There's a thought that I have that is almost imperceptible most of the time, that is related to whatever that stimulus was in the world that has us react. And so thinking creates an emotion, and the emotion leads to then a response from us, an action. And those actions repeated create the results that we get in the world. So if we don't like our results that we're getting, change the thinking that starts the whole thing.
Oh, thank you so much for that practical, actionable advice. Where can listeners learn more about the work you do and also connect with you?
They can go just my name, trevorstevenson.com. And I'd love to connect on LinkedIn or Instagram if anyone wants to chat. Trevor Bryce Stevenson, Bryce, and on LinkedIn. And Fun Road to Freedom is Instagram.
Okay. We'll
Yeah.
put the link mentioned in the description so the listeners can just click and go there. Thank you so much, Trevor. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
You've been listening to Relatable Wisdom, and I've been your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. You've been listening to the podcast where every story, quote, and insight helps you see life a little differently. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who loved the conversation. For more inspiring voices and timeless wisdom, visit relatablewisdom.com. Until next time, keep living, learning, and collecting wisdom that matters most to you.